Our local government is failing the San Diego region, and they're ignoring us. But it doesn't have to be this way. I'm Coronado Mayor Richard Bailey, and I'm committed to helping the San Diego region make a comeback. Not with policies from the political left or right, but with common sense policies that keep our communities safe and clean, fix the potholes and relieve traffic congestion, reduce the cost of living, and yes, actually solve the homeless issue. Let's make San Diego America's finest city once again.
You just saw a clip from a video that outlines Coronado Mayor Richard Bailey's new initiative. Mayor Bailey wants San Diego to make a comeback, and he's focusing on some quality of life issues. He's here to talk more about those things. Mayor, thanks so much for coming in here. Back from your climb.
That's right.
Recently.
At sea level, yeah.
Yes, glad to have you here, and you're going to go back.
That's the plan next year.
Okay. Right. All right. Well, we're glad you're here, and we're glad you're here safely. But you're here to talk a little bit about the initiatives. Make America's finest city once again, right, which means that maybe we've deviated from that title, you feel like.
I do. You know, I think most people, they chose to live here in San Diego because of the year-round great weather, minus the last couple of months here. But also because of the safe and clean parks and beaches in the downtown areas, the relative affordability compared to other areas in California. But what we've seen over the past several years is really a movement away from that. We've seen crime rising over the past several years. We've seen homelessness increasing. We've seen, despite massive amounts of investment in our transportation system, people are still stuck in traffic, and many of the transportation projects that were promised to voters aren't actually coming to fruition. So this initiative really just tries to raise the question in a nonpartisan way of what are the policies that could be addressed to help San Diego make a comeback.
How can we do this through nonpartisan legislation? I think there are some issues that people agree on, no matter whether they're on the left or the right, that we have a homelessness issue, right, public safety issue, we have a housing issue here in this town. How are you going to accomplish these things in Coronado through bipartisan legislation? Is that possible? We've seen so much back and forth, even on the debt ceiling limit, of partisan politics. How do you avoid that in Coronado?
I think you avoid that by focusing on the fundamentals of local and regional government. You know, we talked about homelessness, for example.
Yeah, let's start there, because that's a big issue, and it's grown exponentially. And talk about the San Diego homelessness issue, and then is it creeping into Coronado?
So the homelessness issue is certainly a regional problem. Now, despite the fact that in California we've spent over $10 billion over the past 3 years, and despite us spending tens of millions of dollars here at the regional level, we still couldn't tell you right now exactly how many beds are available in San Diego County, where they're located, and whether or not they have someone already utilizing those beds as of this moment. So there's no real-time data around the issue of homelessness. I think one area where we could all agree on as policymakers is let's start there. Let's get some real-time data around this, because that will then allow policymakers from around the region to begin to enforce many of their laws that they can't currently enforce. I think that's a nonpartisan issue. When we look at the issue of crime, you have homicides that are up pre-pandemic over 25%. You have robberies that are at a 10-year high. Rapes are up by a significant amount. And yet the number of people in our jails in San Diego County are actually 40% lower today than pre-pandemic. That gets back to policies, and I think all of us want safe and clean neighborhoods to raise our families in, to live in, to work in. And so once again, just another nonpartisan way to look at these issues that really get back to the fundamentals of local government.
How have you been reaching out to other governments that have an impact on Coronado? What have you been doing to try and remedy some of this?
Yeah, so we have various regional bodies such as SANDAG, where you have representatives from all of the different cities that serve on this board. And so that actually can serve as a conduit to build relationships with representatives from the South Bay, from North County, from East County. And what we're finding is that many of the issues that are within our individual cities are shared by our colleagues. And so one of my main initiatives over the past few months has been to talk with my colleagues in other cities and ask them, hey, what are your policies on enforcement regarding homelessness? Is there a cohesive policy that we could all agree to in our individual cities that could help address this regional issue instead of taking these issues individually in our cities?
So yes, homelessness, crime, housing. We need more housing in this town. The middle class having a tough time finding a place to live, and they're moving out.
They are. You're absolutely correct. And when you look at some policies from the state of California and also from the County of San Diego and SANDAG, what we've seen is that there's been a massive movement towards forcing new development west of the 5, which when you think about it, hey, if we're trying to create middle class housing, but the only housing that's being really allowed to be built is west of the 5, where it's incredibly expensive. The only way those projects actually pencil out is if they charge an exorbitant price for those units. Historically, we've seen a lot of development in the unincorporated area of San Diego County, which is where middle-class housing is easiest to be built. But because of the application of how San Diego County applies some state housing laws, that housing is now being forced to go west of the 5. If you're trying to build affordable housing, you're not going to be able to do that west of the 5. We have to reevaluate where we're trying to allocate our housing units throughout San Diego County if we want middle-class housing.
You're not west of the 5. You're right. I mean,
no,
you guys are west of the 5,
correct.
but the housing being built would be east of the 5. So how would that impact Coronado? How would that help Coronado out?
Well, so right now, Coronado is the most densely populated city in all of San Diego County. And we are being, SANDAG is requiring us to basically increase our housing density by about 11%. Coronado is more than willing to do our fair share of housing throughout the San Diego region, because as you mentioned, we need more affordable housing. The problem we're seeing, though, is that development can't occur in Coronado that's actually affordable, because developers need to make a significant amount of money to make these projects pencil out. What the developers are telling me is, hey, we're willing to build, but if you want there to be middle-class housing, we have to be able to acquire the land fairly inexpensively, and we have to have our projects streamlined. The more we can do that, the more middle-class housing that can be built. You're probably not going to find that west of the 5, so we need to make sure we're allocating these housing units appropriately so that middle-class folks can actually find a place to live.
We got to run, Mayor. Where's a good website people can learn more about your initiatives and your ideas?
They can check it out at SanDiegoComeback.com.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.